Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn webinar, where we're going to share silent auction strategies for success. So first, let's talk about how do I get auction items donated. As you begin planning your silent auction, the most important thing to remember is to ask for help. You need to have a solicitations committee who will acquire donations for the auction. Keep in mind that you have numerous other responsibilities for planning your event, so you can't solicit donations for your auction alone. So the people that you want on your committee for your solicitations team are salespeople. This will make your job so much easier if you recruit the right people to help you. And remember that many hands make light work. You can also bring in non-sales people to help you. And if those people want to be of assistance, they're great to help you with researching new businesses, to ask for donations, and entering your auction items into your software catalog. This is where you're going to need the help of your detail-oriented people, but your salespeople are the ones who are going to help you really obtain the items and ask for those donations. So if you have 10 people on your committee and you want each of them to get 5 items, you've got 50 items right away, and that's not a lot of work for each of the people to do. So after you recruit your committee members, you want to meet with them to explain their duties. You'll also need to meet with them on a regular basis to answer any questions they have, brainstorm ideas for soliciting donations, provide any additional information they need for setting goals. Salespeople love goals, okay? Divide the committee into teams to contact prospective donors. Also review any updated database of past donors and donated items. And then you'll want to also find out if any committee members have relationships with retailers, business owners, and individuals that could possibly donate to you. So you want to set up and review the time limits to receive donations. And then you want to also teach your team of solicitors how to ask for items. So many people don't know how to solicit donations for auctions. They don't want to bother the business owner, but really the success of this process is all about how you and your team think about it. So in actuality, you're offering these business owners a great opportunity to gain exposure for their companies and possibly gaining new customers. So if your solicitations team understands that you're really presenting a great opportunity to your local businesses, the team members will be more excited about approaching these businesses and asking for donations. So you want to provide your solicitations committee members with a digital notebook with resources that they need and information that explains their duties and goals. And the information that you provide should be updated regularly. And you want to have some type of a notebook or a downloadable document that would include things like your donation form or a link to the donation form, an online donation form that you're going to use. Information about your organization and what your mission is, so they can share that with the potential donors. Also, give them the sponsorship opportunities, because they might go into a business and instead of just getting an auction item, they could bring in a new sponsor for you, right? So it's important to give them that information as well. Also, give them a list of past donors from the database that you have compiled and maintained. So if you can divide that list of past donors up between your solicitations committee, those are really warm leads for them, and they can easily go to those people and ask for additional donations. You can also do internet searches to find other key prospects. We do have a solicitations ebook under our resources link on our website, and it does have links to businesses and a lot of different ideas on how to ask for how to solicit auction items. So I'd encourage you guys to go to our website. We can also send this ebook to you with the recording of this webinar as well. So you also want to provide them with the solicitation or donor request letters and email samples as well. So don't leave it up to your committee to come up with that solicitations email. You want to create it and have them use a standard email or letter. So you want to use an online donation form. Different software platforms have online donation forms now, which make it so much easier to be able to allow your donors to just go online, fill out the information about the item they're going to donate. They can upload images to the item, and then that information is going to flow into your auction catalog. So streamlining that process for your potential donors is key. You don't want to email them a contract, have them have to print it out, and then have to fill it out, then have to scan it and send it back to you or bring it to your office. Just send them the link for an online. Also, your solicitors can add their names and they can use this online form. So when they're out meeting with a potential donor, they can actually fill this form out for the donor and include their information so that you can then track which solicitor is bringing in which items. So let's talk a little bit about those solicitation letters. So in these letters, you want to include why you're raising money, who you're raising money for, how it benefits the donor, not just how it benefits you. Like how is this going to be better for you, Mr. Business Owner, if you donate something to our auction, okay? How will you showcase their business? You want to explain that to them within the letter. We're going to showcase your business by having your logo that's linked to your website on our Giving Center. We're going to include your business card or QR code that's linked back to your business website on our silent auction table. So really think through that of how you're going to be able to showcase your donors and communicate that in this letter. So you want to ask your committee members to copy the solicitation letter into the body of their email instead of attaching it as a file. That will increase the chances that donors will read it. A lot of people will not open an attachment from someone that they don't know. So just putting the information in the body of the email is what you want. Also, ask them to include the link to the online donation form in this letter or email. And if it's a letter, a physical letter you're mailing, include a QR code in the letter that will link them to that donation form. Also, make sure that they include the solicitor's contact information in the email so that they can easily answer any questions or concerns. So if I get a letter from someone and I have questions about the event, make sure that you've got the contact information in there so I can easily reach out to that person to ask questions. Include links to your website in all of the emails. And also you can include a QR code and physical letters as well, so they can find out more about who you are and your mission. Okay, so this is a standard letter. It looks fine, but why don't you think about really getting creative with the letter that you send out to people to really get people's attention. I love this example. It wanted silent auction items for the Wild Wild West Hoedown. This would make me pay attention if this letter came in the mail or if I got an email with this image in it. Okay, so be creative with your donation letter. It'll get more attention. And then we have a lot of clients who ask when to send out letters and emails. And I would suggest sending them out 6 to 9 months before your event. I really like to send out solicitation letters during the slower retail season, not during the Christmas season. They will not pay any attention to it at all starting mid-November. January is typically a slow time. And for those who are on an annual fiscal year that starts in January, they have a new budget. It's a new budget year, and they typically will have money set aside that they want to use for donations. And then summer is a great time to solicit auction items because people just don't go out in the summer and solicit items. So we were chairing an event years ago for our children's school, and the event was in the fall. And I took my children with me into all these different retail stores and was very successful in getting auction items donated. One, because, and I had several retailers tell me, no one has come to see me all summer, and I'm happy to donate to you. And the other is that I took my children with me, and it was hard to tell me no when my children were standing right next to me. So just a little strategy there. Okay, so you need to have a personal connection to receive these auction items. Okay, don't just expect items to come in the door from sending out emails. So retailers really do like the personal touch. So go by, say hello, tell them about the great opportunities you have for them, and this will lead to success. So a warm smile, a handshake, information about your event, having that online donation form pulled up on your phone when you come in to see them, all will make that a really easy, streamlined process. And when you go in to talk with them, you want to ask for something specific. Instead of just saying, we'd like you to donate something from your store, ask for a specific item that you think will sell well. So say, we'd like a smoker to include in our men's section of the auction, or ask for a $200 item. And many people will say yes, they'll go ahead and give you an item that's worth $200 or more. But some may say no, they could give you a $100 item instead. And that's way better than a $10 item that's going to you don't want your whole auction table full of $10 and $20 items, okay? So ask for more than what you want, be specific about what you ask for, and share the idea of how you want to include them in the auction. And then you want to have fun and you want to be creative with your solicitations committee. You want to be a cheerleader for them. So you're cheering on the success of your members, addressing issues or roadblocks and offering solutions to them. You're going to be kind of their coach, right? So be creative with your committee. This is really important because if you make the solicitation process fun, your committee will be more motivated and they'll be more successful. So for example, we had one school that we worked with who had a safari theme that year. And to be consistent with the theme, the chairperson gave each person on her solicitations committee a green folder titled "On the Hunt for Great Auction Items." And it included the solicitation information and a small pair of toy binoculars and a safari hat. So it was really cute, great idea, and everybody, just really liked it. So have some fun with it. Also, show your auction solicitations team how much you appreciate each one of them, and let your committee members know that you appreciate all their hard work. Tell them that you will, tell them that you will list their names and the items that they solicited, along with a special thank you on the display sheet. This is super effective. One of our clients did this, and because they listed the name of the solicitor, the people who were soliciting items really were motivated to get amazing items for the auction because they knew their name was going to be on that display sheet. And also keep in mind that salespeople are motivated by goals and by being rewarded for their success. So have a contest for who solicits the most items and who brings in the most dollar value of items. And then have a party after the event to celebrate your success. Okay, so now we want to talk about how many items you want to have in the silent auction. So as a rule, we typically recommend that people have half the number of bidders in the room, okay? So that means if you have 400 attendees that are mostly couples at your event, you basically have 200 bidders because most couples bid as a team, they bid together. So the most auction items you would want to have in your silent auction is 100 items, okay? And keep in mind, this is the maximum number of items. It's okay to have fewer items than that, and I would make sure that the items in your auction are worth at least $100 per item. So if you get smaller items, we can share with you some different ideas on maybe packaging those together, creating larger item, packages, or using them in like a grab bag or something else like that. But keep in mind the theory of supply and demand. Okay, so the fewer items you have, the more people will be willing to pay for them. So the last thing we want is a garage sale. So make sure you've got quality items and that you don't have too many of them. And then people ask this all the time, where do I get my items? So I like to use this process called peel the onion, okay? And this is where you would gather together your board members, your committee members, your solicitations team, and you would have them, you would give them each this list to work through their personal contacts. So you want to go to businesses, and as they're going through this form, okay, let's think through this. My brother owns a house in Cabo. Maybe he would donate that to us. My golf buddy has a printing business, so maybe we could get his printing services for our event. I have a colleague whose wife has a retail shop. Maybe she would donate an item from her store. And then really you want to look also at the merchants that are frequented by your committee and your board. If you go to a restaurant all the time, the next time you go into that restaurant to have dinner, just ask them for a donation of a gift card. They're not going to say no because you're a customer of theirs and you're in there all the time. So that's really easy. Okay.
Claire, did you
One,
see there was a comment kind of related to that where they've offered to purchase? I think it was Kathy put it in the chat. She said she offered to purchase a gift card and often they'll get one free. And so
oh, love
I just
that.
thought that was worth
Yes.
mentioning.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's a great idea. Also, I don't know if you guys know, but at Costco, you can purchase several gift cards from a restaurant. It's a pack, and they're like 25% off the retail price. And so you can ask some people who say, "Oh, I want to donate money or I want to underwrite something." You can ask them to purchase those gift cards from Costco. And then gift cards to restaurants typically sell for over the value in your auction. So that's a good way to get gift certificates and gift cards donated, especially for restaurants. So utilize this form, and this is a great place to start. And then of course also utilizing the list of people who've donated to you in the past. Okay, Marty's going to take it from here.
Awesome. Yeah, so one thing that's really unique that we try and replicate and kind of tell our clients to do is having unique experiences. So oftentimes the best items that sell well at your events are ones that you can't buy anywhere else. So we have some unique examples here and we can kind of talk through them, but maybe having a famous chef doing a cooking dinner in your home for 12 guests. Or you could do, if you have an event that is kind of movie themed and you have a famous producer there, maybe going to that private viewing room for a movie preview party. Anything where you can do an on-field experience with an athlete, like a locker room tour or a personally autographed jersey and ball, that will go really well too, because it's going to be unique to that individual. We've even seen like personalized Washington tours with your state representative. This one is for kind of the hockey community group, but like you could do a Zamboni ride, maybe at a Stars game or a professional hockey game in Houston whenever they get a team, or doing like a ball boy thing at an event. And we've seen with the visits from Santa, obviously Santa's on this slide, that if you can do a visit from Santa that includes milk and cookies, this is an original package that lots of grandparents would love to buy for their grandchildren. So great idea for some silent auction items there. Next, here's some other items that sell well. For a lot of folks, like a fighter pilot for a day, that's a big bucket list item. This may be hard to find as a donation, but we've got a lot of trip and experience package partners that have these type of packages too. So we've also seen shooting experience with a veteran goes really well at events. If you have, a priest or pastor or principal at the school, kind of packaging something that person has that's unique about them. Like we had a principal that loved to horseback ride, so she offered a horseback riding lesson to, I think it was 6 students. So that's something unique. A lot of school events will kind of package people like that and sell them different ways, which goes really well. You could also do like riding in the front car of a float or at a Christmas parade or 4th of July parade, even doing a radio show guest host spot, or having breakfast with a fire department chief or police chief can go over really well too, as a great package. Next, we've got some examples of some other items that will sell well at events. So you can see like anything with airline miles or certificates for airlines goes really well. If you have jewelry with a very strong universal appeal, I think a good example of this is like diamond stud earrings. A lot of folks may be interested in diamond stud earrings, so that would be a good item for your silent auction. Or if you have different restaurants and certificates to liquor stores, we talked about that earlier. I think sports memorabilia always goes well, especially if you can customize it. And then zoo or museums, based on your attendees, like, we've done events for the Dallas Zoo before. So I think if you do tours and personalized tours like that of, specific museums or the zoo itself related to your event, I think that goes well. And for travel packages, anything that is drivable travel is usually great. So think about a girls' trip to Canton on a party bus, or Broken Bow, Oklahoma, maybe Fredericksburg wine tasting and shopping experience. Anything that you can offer, especially for families, drivable destinations are usually a lot easier and a great way to solicit some interest. So moving on to some school auction items that sell really well. Ones that we've seen a lot of times are sign-up parties, class projects, artwork. There are also naming rights for areas of the school, like naming the field or the gym. We've also seen a lot of school events do like fly your flag, where you can put up the flag of your alma mater in the gym if you purchase that package. Principal for the day, teachers parties, free dress days, any parking spots, any way to avoid carpool lines, always a winning formula, right? So that's a great way. We also have multiple blogs that discuss school fundraisers on our website. So if you go to MuradAuctions.com, you can go to our blog section and you'll find a lot of articles under school fundraising ideas there as well. So finally, we're going to end with items that do not sell well. So legal and financial services don't really typically do well. If you have more than one photographer in your silent auction, that doesn't do well. Salon and med spa services aren't typically great. I actually had a story where I'm one of our live auctioneers too, and we sold a package in Silent Inline that was a spider vein therapy treatment. So there weren't a lot of people raising their hand to put on that package at the event. Obviously, that would be something to be tough to do, and maybe a bit embarrassing for some of the guests too. So unusual jewelry typically is not great. Clothing can be really challenging too. And then anytime you offer discounts, that typically doesn't go as well either in your silent auction. So I'll pass it back over to Claire to talk about how to manage some auction items.
Sure, thanks, Marty. So how are you going to manage all of your auction items and catalog everything and make it available to sell? So, you can use it. Some people in the past have used Excel. We really feel like the best way to do this is utilizing some type of web-based software that allows all of your volunteers and the people on your committee and your team to be able to work within the software and manage all the aspects of your fundraiser, including your silent auction. So these are some things to think about, and these are some features of the auction software that will help you raise the most money. So we work with several different software platforms, and we can help you guys determine which is the best fit for your event. But basically, at a minimum, you want to make sure that your software will allow you to manage a full auction catalog, allow you to do bulk editing within that catalog, that you have really good data integrity, which means that it needs to be PCI compliant, SOC2 certified. You want to make sure that the data for your data and the data of your bidders is safe. AI assistance is great. I know we have somebody who's on our call today from One Cause, and they're one of our partners. And just talking about that AI assistance, where the AI will really help you create your descriptions. I had a client who called me a few weeks ago, and she said, Claire, literally that saved me 3 hours of time in creating my auction descriptions. So all you have to do is put in a few key details about your item and then let the AI create a beautiful description for you, which is really, really nice. And also, one thing that's great about the One Cost software is that it also now does suggested items. So just like when you're on Amazon and you're looking for a specific item, and then it pulls up other items that you might be interested in, that's a great feature too, that really helps people continue to bid on more and more items. Having multiple pictures and video being able to be embedded into your item, video can be embedded into your descriptions, especially if you've got some amazing item like a trip or something like that, and you want to create some video or include some video in the description. I think that's great. You want to be able to track your donors and create thank you letters and emails to your donors. And you want to make sure that bidders can bid as a couple. This doesn't seem like a big deal, but there's some software platforms out there that do not allow this. You can only bid as an individual. So my husband and I each have individual accounts, and we could technically be bidding against each other. So we don't want that. We want the bidders to be able to bid as a couple. And then you want to also be able to lock out certain bidders per item. So because we're using online auctions and mobile bidding now, sometimes people are like, well, I don't know if I want to share my auction with everybody because I want to protect my event, right? I want to make sure that the people who buy a ticket to come to my event have access to the auction, because that's one of the benefits of buying the ticket. Well, if you can lock out certain bidders and you can have like maybe a premier auction that only the people who are attending your event can bid on, that will protect your event, but also allow you to send your auction out and get more bidders by allowing the general public to bid as well. You also want to have preset bid increments so that you can just easily say, okay, I want my starting bid to be 15% of my fair market value, and the software just does all that work for you, and you're not having to calculate all that, okay? We don't have time today to go through and talk about all the different software platforms and all the features of them, but we are more than happy to sit down and talk to anybody about that. There will be a QR code at the end of the webinar. If anybody wants to set up a time to talk with us, we're happy to kind of help you through this process. So you also want to have all types of reports that are part of your software. So really the reports that I find the most helpful, of course, you have to have all your reconciliation reports to help you do all your wrap up at the end of the event. But then I really think it's important to look at your reports about your top selling items, your categories that sold that were the most popular, your bidders who spent the most money at your in your auction. And then that really helps you analyze which of your auction items were most successful. And those are the items that you want to solicit for next year. So if your health and beauty category didn't perform well, don't even get those items. There's no reason to mess with that. Just tell your solicitations team, we don't want any health and beauty. We only want restaurants. We want certain activities. So that'll help you really hone in on what your audience really likes to bid on. And then you want to decide, is this going to be a public auction or a private auction? Okay, so because we're using online auction software, we can make this a public auction, and you can really share it with your friends, your family, your entire donor base, not just the people who are coming to your event. You want to have social share buttons here where people can easily share this item on Facebook. They can share it via text or email. I have a story. We were doing managing an auction for an organization, and they had a Sonoma tour in Sonoma, a wine tour. And my sister was going to Sonoma in a month. She had no connection with this nonprofit at all, but I sent her the link and said, hey, you should bid on this. This doesn't have any bids on it. She bid on it. She won the item. And then she's been a supporter of this nonprofit since then. So it's a great way to gain additional exposure for your nonprofit. Okay. So in your description of your auction item, you really want to allow your bidders to picture themselves owning this item, okay? So you can have multiple pictures, video, include all the details and restrictions, use that AI companion that will help you build your description, but you want to keep it simple and to the point. So you don't need 200 words describing this item. People will not take the time to read that. And then, by using an online auction and mobile bidding, you're going to raise 20 to 30% more. And by sharing this with other people, not just the people attending your event. You want to make sure that the software is web responsive. You don't want to have any apps to download. There are some software platforms out there where you have to download an app to participate in the auction, and that just creates another barrier to participation. Okay, so you want to have custom categories. You want to make sure that people have the ability to place a fast bid, a max bid, that they can do a buy now if you want to, or that they can add it to their watch list. And then, of course, you want to make sure that the software will provide, will include outbid notifications. So if someone's outbid on an item, they're going to receive a text message and an email if you want them to also receive emails. Letting them know they've been outbid on an item. You want to make sure that link in the text takes them right back to that specific item to continue bidding. And then you want to make sure that your software platform also includes custom text messages for no bid items, announcing closing times or holding the auction open a little bit longer. So you want to make sure that you're able to send custom text messages out to kind of create to help you manage your event overall. And then you want to think about when you want to close your auction. Do you want to close the auction the night of your event, or do you want to hold it open a little bit longer? You can leave your auction open until, if your event's on a Saturday night, maybe leave it open until Sunday afternoon. We had a client recently who raised over $40,000 more from Saturday night to Sunday afternoon. So it just gave her bidders time to concentrate and pay attention to the auction as it was closing. And then you also want to make sure that your software has leaderboards built into it for silent auction. You can have leaderboards that just show each item individually, or you can show all of the items in a list. So this just helps increase competition and helps remind people when they're at the event, oh yeah, there's a silent auction. I need to go check my items. Okay. Okay, Marty, I'm going to let you talk about starting the bidding.
Awesome. Yeah, so one way to make more money from your silent auction is to open your bidding several days prior to your in-person event. So with our technology, you can send a text or an email to all of your supporters whenever that opens, and you can include their personal bidding link in that message. So this will just allow your guests to spend more time reviewing the auction catalog, save some of their favorite items prior to the event. And so you can really kind of envision them bidding when they're having their coffee in the morning or a glass of wine at night. And it's really nice to do this because it gets so busy at events. They're going to run into people that they know, but if they have time to preview it ahead of time, it'll help your organization make more money and have more donations going into your event the night of. This also encourages a lot of your guests to pre-register or to put their credit card on file. So many people will ask if they can add new items once the auction is already open, and the answer to this is yes. So we love adding new items because it gives you an excuse to send out another text letting people know so they can return to the auction and keep bidding. So this is a nice feature. It's really important too throughout the event to make sure and remind people why they're giving. So we want to make sure people know where the money is going to be going to, what it'll be used for. So it's really great to identify a specific program or project that they feel good about, which will help you raise more money. So showing pictures of the why is often very impactful. And you can see this example here with kind of showing exactly where that money is going to be going. So next, we're going to talk about check-in and checkout. So this is an important part of your event. It's the first and last impression. Whenever your guests are going to arrive, they'll always think about, the lines at check-in, and it's where they're also going to receive their personal bidding link for that silent auction as well. So it's really nice because your auction software should also allow you to manage some aspects of the check-in and checkout at your event, which is just an additional added feature. So we talked about that personal bidding link, and really we like to call this the magic link. The reason why is there's no app to download, no account to set up, there's no complicated passwords. You don't need any of those barriers to participation for your guests. So it's also a great way to showcase a sponsor. So you can see here, it's the AT&T silent auction. Just imagine going to a sponsor and say, every text message that all 300 of my patrons receive is going to have the name of your company in it. That's a really powerful statement to tell a sponsor, especially someone who may be a larger sponsor at your event. So for the room layout, we really want to arrange it in a way that makes guests walk through those silent auction tables to get to the bar. We want to ensure that there's no bottlenecks in that silent auction setup area. And it's really great if you can mix the food and beverage and auction tables together to kind of encourage your guests to flow through the room a certain way. So we want to make sure that there's little or no seating because we want to promote browsing at the event, and we want to leave space so that people can see the physical items on there. So one of our trade secrets is to have one 8-foot table for every 10 to 12 packages. So that's one 8-foot table for every 10 to 12 packages for mobile bidding in your auction. So look at these beautiful displays. Those look great, don't they? And what we like to see at auctions are 3 to 4 sections in your silent auction display area. And it's great if you can color code your sections or identify sections with signs that are easy to see. So really you can get a lot of inspiration from different retail places and kind of merchandise your auction like a store would, like Anthropologie has a lot of beautiful displays. So we've seen a lot of our silent auction and auction chairs kind of replicate that process in their event. So if you have a volunteer who works retail and knows how to create displays, that's a great way to get them involved at your event to try and arrange those items to be more appealing for the shoppers. So we also talk about display sheets. These are great to have them printed from your auction software. They can provide details about each item. And if you include a QR code, it makes it really easy for people to scan and bid and pull up that exact item whenever they're at the event. So we recommend having all packages numbered on the display sheets and making sure that that's in a large font so people can locate that easily. One thing that we want to try and do is limit the use of extra decorations and props that can clutter the auction table. So you can see here in this example, like that package is blocking the sign and there's just a lot going on. So really trying to make it clean and easy for people to understand what items are going to be highlighted. Another thing that's good to do is creating a how-to bid sign for the silent auction tables as well. This is something that's great for first-time bidders. And this is feedback we get really commonly at events is people are really nervous about introducing mobile bidding because of their demographic. Maybe they have an older donor base, but that's why these how-to bidding signs can really help out. And you can even use volunteers too. So that's what we're going to talk about here is just having them as a table item monitor or bidding assistant. So you can even put a name tag on your volunteer and have it say auction item expert. Let me help you bid. You know, having someone that's very savvy with the technology there to help those folks from an older demographic who may not be as comfortable with technology can really add a lot of value to your event. And then another thing we talk about is just having eye level displays too. So we're going to talk about some different creative displays in this section, but eye level displays are always great. It makes it easier for people just to kind of see right when they walk in. You can see here they've got a baseball bat and a football helmet. So some unique stuff. This is a really unique way that we've seen to display gift cards and certificates. So it's a freestanding frame. So very easy to see, and it doesn't take up that much space either. So great. I believe this is on a field in the background there, but you can see it's a great way. And I think these look like they spin too. So really unique way to feature some gift cards at your event. Another way to feature your silent auction items is by using multi-level displays. So if you use boxes or acrylic stands, you can showcase items at different levels. This makes it really stand out and kind of pop on that table. Next, here's a way to kind of showcase some donor information. So if you have sponsors or people who have donated items like this wine from a winery, you can see that we've listed different brochures from that winery there. And typically they'll have a QR code with the winery contact information on the table too. So it's a great way to say, hey, we're not only going to sponsor you, but we're going to advertise for your winery at this event too, and potentially get you some new customers. Whenever we see jewelry being displayed, it's typically a best practice to display that on black, and we want to use spotlights that make it really easy to see. So you only want to have jewelry, as I mentioned before, with universal appeal, like these diamond hoops or a nice diamond bracelet there. And we did mention before that clothing does not generally sell well, so we don't really recommend having it in your event. But if you do have a generous person that wants to donate some clothing, we suggest that you show examples and offer a gift card to the store so the winner can pick out exactly what they want. So this is a great example using mannequins. We love that because you can really see how it would look in real time. There's a backpack on one of these mannequins. And I think a lot of times too, the store owners will typically prefer having a gift card as well, since it's going to bring new guests into the shop. And they'll normally spend more than just the value of that gift card you give them. Here's another unique display idea we have for jewelry and necklaces. You can see on the left-hand side, we've used vases that are painted black to display the jewelry. We can also do this with painted wine bottles too. That will typically work. We want to make sure that they're displayed in an upright position. And you can see here's another creative idea on the right-hand side of using the clipboards to display jewelry at their event too. So that was something unique we saw. And then one thing we often say is, why don't you think outside of the basket? Because there's a lot of baskets at events, right? And it's a great way to combine smaller items into packages that are valued at over $100 or more. But if you can think outside of the basket, you can use coolers, boxes, fire pits, large bowls, etc. Different things to package your items. You see there's a paint can in here too. So a quick tip we have with this one is making sure to use the description to list every single item that's in that basket, because oftentimes bidders aren't able to see everything. So you want them to be sure they see the full true value of that basket. And oftentimes taking a photo of it before you wrap the basket makes it look better online in your online auction. So bidders can see exactly what's going to be inside of there. And you don't have to deal with that glare of the plastic that may show up with that photography. So here's some more great ideas we have. This is a dine around town package with gift cards displayed on a blackboard. And you can see these people are singing outside of the basket again with a Rubbermaid tub held with camping items inside. So some really unique ideas there. So I'll pass it back to Claire to wrap us up today.
Hey, so we're getting close to the end here. So let's talk about when you want to close the auction. Do you want to close the auction the night of the event? If you do, you want to make sure that if you're using mobile bidding, which 99% of people are doing now, you want to close the auction after the live auction. So if someone doesn't win an item in the live auction, if they were bidding $5,000 on a package in the live auction and they didn't win it, they've got $5,000 in their pocket that they might spend in your silent auction. So leave it open for about 15 minutes after your live auction is over. And you want to make sure that you close it before the entertainment. So typically what happens is you have a mass exodus of people, a certain number of people in the room who will leave after the live auction and the programming is over. Mobile bidding is nice because they can continue to bid even after they leave the event. But you want to be able to involve people as much as possible in the auction closing while they're still there at your event. And as I mentioned before, think about whether you would want to allow the auction to close the day after the event. At 5 p.m. For a lot of our schools, they'll close the auction at 9 p.m. the day, like Sunday night, after they put the kids to bed. Then they can sit down and focus on the auction. It's also a great way for you to be able to have people come by your office and pick up their auction items and maybe do a tour and find out a little bit more about your mission. And also, you don't have to bring all those auction items up to the event if they're going to be picked up at your office later. So you want to post a designated time for checkout. We typically recommend that you have one checkout computer for each 100 guests. And you want it to be a two-step process, right? So guests can check out on their phones or with a volunteer at the registration desk. And the software will email them a receipt, and then they can go to cashiering to pick up their items. So guests have the ability to check out on their phones, and that's really nice. And what we really do a lot at our events is we have the volunteers and our team just helping people check out on their own phones. That seems to be the simplest way to do it. But you can also have people stationed at the checkout desk with a computer or an iPad to check people out. And you want to have a volunteer, a cashier volunteer available for about an hour after the auction close time to be able to assist people. So if somebody wants to pay with a check or they don't feel comfortable checking out on their phones, we can help them as well. You also want to have an ID clerk or runner, depending on how you manage your checkout. But you want to have some able-bodied people. And maybe this is a group of younger people who just come in at the end of the night. And that way they haven't been there since 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon setting up and they're exhausted. So maybe having a group of able-bodied people coming in to help be runners to help people get their auction items. So a couple of methods for how to manage your checkout. I do have 4 different blogs that go in that explain in detail the 4 different methods for doing checkout. One of the methods that I do like the best is to basically sort all of the items by the winning bid number. You can bag and tag the items, and then volunteers can retrieve those items for the guests. So basically, if you'll set your silent auction area up and have it in number order, so item number order or package number order. So like you might have home and gardens, that's all 100s, and you would have them displayed from 100 to 120. And then you might have men's and electronics, and that's the 200 range from 200 to 225. So it just makes it so much easier when your guests check out. The receipt is emailed to them, and then they can basically show the runner what they've won, or they can go up to the auction table, and the item distribution person can just verify that information on their phone and hand them their item. So it just makes it easy for you to find those items. I like I really don't like moving all the auction items to a pickup room. What I prefer is to block off the silent auction table, either with stanchions or tables, and allow people to come up, and a volunteer will go and get their item for them, or go with them to the table to hand them their item. That keeps people from just having a grabbing session of going and grabbing their items off the table. The other thing is, if you're going to utilize runners who are going to basically have a list of items that a person has won, and they're going to go get those items, I really like the idea of having laminated colored sheets of paper, so that you can give the guest a blue laminated sheet of paper. The runner also has a blue laminated sheet of paper, and the runner goes and picks up all the items, and then it makes it very easy for them to find each other once that runner gets all of their items. What happens a lot of times if you don't do that is that the person is waiting for their items, and they start wandering off and talking to their friends, and that runner doesn't remember who that person is. So that really helps with that quite a bit. My favorite way of doing checkout is to have a control box. So what I like to do is create a display sheet for each item on the auction table, and then print off another display sheet for those items and put those in a box, a file box. So when your guest checks out, they'll come to that file box, the person managing the file box, and will look at their phone, at their receipt, see which items they won, and then I give them a display sheet for each of the items that they won. The display sheet has a picture of the item on it, and then they can very easily go over, either hand those sheets to a runner, the runner can go pick up those items, or the guest can go to the silent auction table, and a table monitor can give them their items. I really feel like this is the best way to do item distribution. If you guys have questions about that, I'm more than happy to jump on a call and kind of explain that in more detail to you. And basically, closing the auction the next day allows more time to bid, allows you to raise more money. You don't need the volunteers at the end of the night. Many times your volunteers go home because they're tired. And then we're like, where are our 10 item distribution volunteers? And sometimes they're not there anymore. So it's nice that you don't need them at the end of the night. Bidders are also more focused on bidding the next day. You can have a smaller auction display at the event, and then they can come by your office to pick up items and have a tour or learn more about your mission. So this is the goal of how you're going to be when the event is over. So it's all your items are distributed, everything's great, and you can go relax and have a nice day the next day to put your feet up. Ha ha ha. But that's the goal. This is the QR code. So if you want to set up a free consultation with us, we're more than happy to do that.